all in one.
It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Ready, set.
Just call me Swanee.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
Finally, Clemson Sports Talk has come back to Drive Time. Hello, everybody. Lawton Swan back in the saddle once again. It is the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk for you each and every afternoon as you make your way around the great state of South Carolina and beyond, listening to us on incredible radio stations like Fox Sports Radio 1400 in the Midlands, around the world on the iHeart Radio app, and coming soon to a station near you. Sounds good. 803-450-0086. Text line, phone line. Oh, baby. We've been working on the studio. We've been working on the studio. And we got more to go. We got things to update. But boy, does this look. Oh, wait till you see. Wait till you. Little sneak peek. Little sneak peek. What do you know about that action, boss? What are we doing? What are we doing here, Swanee? It's the takeover, baby. The CS takeover. 803-450-0086. Mike Uval will join us in hour number one. Now, that's unusual. Also unusual what's going on at South Carolina right now with the Gamecocks naming a former grad assistant as their starting quarterback. We'll talk with Mike Uva about that story. Plus, we heard from Dabo Sweeney today. We'll have that audio for you. Trenton Simpson, Tyson Pumachan. I got to say this, though. You know, with Pumachan getting back to being the number 2 quarterback, Clemson's 2 quarterbacks, spelling their names is a chore for anybody. DJ Uiagalelei and Tyson Pumachan. It's pretty telling when Uiagalelei is the easier of the 2 names to spell. But that is the truth of the matter, if you will. Again, 803-450-0086. If you're keeping score at home, Uiagalelei, Uiagalelei. Pumachan, if you are wondering, Phommachanh. 2 of the more unique names in college football from those 2 Clemson Tigers. And again, the Tigers and the Bulldogs will face off in Charlotte, North Carolina, the Queen City. Game day environment, a huge opener for both teams. So again, looking forward to catching up with Mike Uva here momentarily. Hour 2, instead of Mike Uva, we will go with Brett Ciancia. Pick 6 previews. And again, a big weekend, not just for Clemson and Georgia on the gridiron, but also off of the gridiron, as a ton of prospects are going to be in attendance for this ball game. These 2 natural rivals, heads up, about an hour and a half apart. Very similar circumstances in a lot of respects when it comes down to where these 2 teams were perhaps nationally after winning their national championship. We talked about the battles between Danny Ford and Vince Dooley years ago. Those 2 teams back and forth, some field goal kickers almost at times becoming not the name of the program, but the name of the series, whether it be David Treadwell or Kevin Butler. I mean, that was the thing that I think made this game this rivalry so great for so many people, is just how tight it was through those years. Just how close those 2 were, including a tie. Speaking of a tie, but not the kind on the gridiron, the kind that he is lacking today, but one in which he does allow you to select from time to time. Our good buddy Mike Yuva steps into the arena today to go one-on-one with the great one. Mike, what's up, big guy? How are you, man?
I'm doing well, Swanee. It's a busy Tuesday, but you know what? That means it's a Talking Tuesday, and we love Talking Tuesdays in this state.
Look, and we've got Dabo Swinney's audio coming up here in just a little bit for our listeners, and certainly some interesting things coming out of Tiger Town. But you and I have been talking a little bit more and more about this situation in Columbia, and today I guess it's come to fruition. A former grad assistant who had walked away from the game, so to speak, was getting into like an analyst role, going to be the starting quarterback for South Carolina against Eastern Illinois. What's the latest news, Mike?
How crazy is that? Because it sounds like it's a Disney movie, for crying out loud. And this is a guy that, 2 months ago at the Birdies for Beamer golf outing, I was paired with this guy. And I didn't know who he was. I had no clue. I actually posted a picture of it. Freaking Cocky the mascot, I think, is actually bigger than me in the picture. I'm like stacked with the Jolly Green Giants because Zeb's actually a pretty big guy himself. But yes, Zeb Nolan, the former grad assistant who also played football at North Dakota State, played some football this past spring. And that's something that Shane Beamer pointed out. He's been named the starting quarterback going into week one, beating out Jason Brown, the grad transfer from St. Francis, and then also Colton Gauthier, who's a true freshman because of Luke Doty still being a little banged up coming from that foot sprain. But Beamer mentioned it today. It's not like this guy was not playing football the last 2 or 3 years. Or to exactly quote him, he said it's not like he was walking down the halls as if he was Uncle Rico, sharing about the glory days. This is a guy that a couple months ago was playing spring football at North Dakota State. And on top of that, for most of his career during his time there, he played behind a guy named Trey Lance, who, oh, by the way, was drafted 3rd overall this past year in the NFL draft. Before that, he had 7 career starts at Iowa State. So he does have Big 5 experience as well. Is he a guy that's going to come in here and, win the Heisman Trophy? Probably not. But at the same time, too, he brings a lot of experience. And when you look at the roster that South Carolina has right now, especially the quarterback room, no one has any experience of playing in front of a crowd like that, especially even Luke Doty going back to last season, because the crowds weren't as full as what we're used to and as we're accustomed to seeing in over the years because of what happened last year with COVID restricting so many stadiums across the country. So he brings that experience and he brings comfort. And that's another thing Beamer mentioned a week ago. When he's out on the field, not just the players, but the coaching staff, they feel comfortable knowing that when he's out there, he's going to get the guys in the right positions and he's going to be able to make the right throws.
Now, one of the things that can certainly help out any quarterback is the running game, and we know that South Carolina is going to need that, especially in the SEC with what they'll be dealing with the likes of a Georgia team that Clemson is going to face off with in the opener, Florida, on and on and on. So what is the situation there, and how big of an impact can that have for this incredible story that's taking place with Zeb, right? Z-E-B, is that right, Zeb?
Yes. Well, shoot. How great of a story is this? The Kerryon Joyner, guy that's gone back and forth between positions, quarterback, receiver. He has been named a starting receiver, and it looks like he'll be playing in the slot to start the year off. So just a tremendous story of a guy that easily could have entered the transfer portal, but he's sticking things out. Jalen Brooks, a guy that transferred in a year ago from a Division II school, he wasn't even sure if he was going to play last season because for most of the beginning of the year, the NCAA, because of the waiver rules, he had to kind of wait around a little bit. When he did get his number called, it seemed like from a mental standpoint, you could kind of see he was playing catch up a lot of the time. Now he knows what he's doing. And Beamer has just raved about how he has looked, and he brings that vertical threat, something that South Carolina desperately needs, especially after losing Shi Smith a year ago. And then Josh Vann will be the other starting wide receiver as far as tight ends go, because that is going to be a big position too, Swanee, when you're talking about being able to get the passing game going. Nick Muse, of course, people know his brother, Tanner, up in Tiger Town. Nick's coming back from an ACL injury from just 2 years ago. He told me last year, it probably wasn't until that Missouri game that he felt like himself, being able to go out there and not thinking about every cut he's making and just being able to play. And then EJ Jenkins is another guy you want to keep an eye on. He came over from St. Francis, a transfer with Jason Brown. This guy is 6'7". He has a basketball-like body. He played some receiver, but they've converted him into a tight end. But he's someone that can play both. I expect South Carolina to be heavy tight end, or to use the tight ends heavily. But on top of that, shoot, and I made this joke earlier, you could throw a quarterback out there with no arms this week. I think at the end of the day, South Carolina is going to try to run the football down their throats, and they have the running backs on paper to be able to do it. What is that going to look like? Kevin Harris looks like he is ready to go, coming from that back injury, and then a lot of people are excited to see what Marshawn Lloyd can do after not being able to play last season because of that ACL injury in preseason.
That's a good point you bring up about Lloyd. And I kind of wonder the same thing because you mentioned Nick Muse coming back from his ACL injury and how he said that it took him a while to kind of get his feet underneath him. That's always been the thing for me. And I've been fortunate enough in all my athletic career to never have that type of injury and have to get back from that. I mean, how long do you think it'll take for him to really feel comfortable in that scenario?
I mean, every athlete's different. I mean, not to be the guy of, I'm playing youth basketball at the YMCA, but I mean, I went through 3 injuries in college, 3 major injuries, and the worst one was the lower body, being able to have a foot injury and you need to break that. So that was the most difficult one. Any lower body injury, anything that involves making cuts, are the toughest to come back from. Yes, we can talk about neck injuries. There's no question about that. We know everything that has took place with Clemson receivers over not just this past year, but I mean, going back to the days of Mike Williams as well. So obviously that is a very serious injury as well. But for the most part, lower body injuries can prevent players from being able to come back right away and being able to be like themselves. And I know that's easier, it's easier said than done when you come back to be able to just pick up right where you left off. The problem is the mental aspect of it, because you do overcompensate when you're thinking about every little cut you make. Now, Lloyd has said that he feels exactly like himself. He's making the cuts that he did before he had the injury. They don't have him at any snap count, or they haven't had him on any snap count as far as preseason practices are concerned, or any of the scrimmages. But with that all being said, when the lights turn on, it's a totally different ball game. And even though it's not an SEC matchup, this is a real game. And this will also be his first collegiate game. So the butterflies will be there. I think it's great to be able to have a game like this, though, to be able to get that game under your belt. And if South Carolina is able to get him comfortable after week 1, why not have a good conversation going into week 2, week 3, as perhaps who's going to be the guy to be the starter? Because at the beginning of the year, at the beginning of preseason, it seemed like a lot of people were like, oh, Kevin Harris is going to be the guy. He's not getting the accolades that he deserves, blah, blah, blah. Well, it's no disrespect to Kevin Harris, and this is before we knew about the back injury. I've always thought this. I thought Marshawn Lloyd is the most talented running back on this roster, and if he can prove that and he can come back from this ACL injury and prove it in week 1, I think that's the reason why people weren't voting Harris to have all these, preseason accolades, is because they just view a guy like Lloyd to potentially be the guy that could be the hot hand moving forward as the season goes on, despite everything that Harris was able to do last year, leading the SEC in the regular season in rushing yards.
Speaking of a hot hand, he's Mike Huba. He's got a hot hand on social media. Take a look at that guy, like $1 million right there. Watch Fox 57 in the Midlands at Mike_UVA. He joins us every week, typically at 5 o'clock, but we got him on a little early today, and it's a big weekend, obviously, for the Clemson Tigers up in Charlotte. And South Carolina will get their hands on the Georgia Bulldogs here in a couple of weeks, about 3 weeks from now. But, when you look at it as an outside observer, I mean, what do you expect to see, Mike, take place up in Charlotte for the Bulldogs and the Tigers as they square off this Saturday night?
Well, I'm still going through the complete press conference for Dabo because, of course, being at the USC one today. But I mean, everything that he kind of hit on, I expect Clemson to try to stay away from Georgia's strengths, and Georgia's strengths are in the trenches, both on the offensive line and the defensive line. They are some big boys. And yes, they have skill position players, but at the same time, too, Clemson has plenty of talent across the board. I think the big question is, we saw what DJ Uiagalelei was able to do last season in his 2 career starts, back-to-back ACC Rookie of the Week honors. The question now is, can the guys around him be able to elevate that game the same way it looked like last year? You don't have Travis Etienne. You don't have the same type of talent at the wide receiver position, or at least it hasn't been proven yet. That's not to say that these guys can't step up and have careers like we've seen many Clemson receivers be able to produce over the last couple of years. When we talk about the quarterback factory over there, I mean, shoot, it's wide receiver you for crying out loud with how much talent has come over and out of that school. So who's going to be the guys at that wide receiver position to be consistent and help step up? Because I just don't think, even if you had Travis Etienne, as good as he is, I think you'd continue just to give him some swing passes, try to get him out into the flats, because Georgia is just one of those teams that they're built to stop the run between the tackles. Now, I say all this, watch Clemson just run down their throat between the tackles, and it's like, good job, Mike. But I honestly think that's the way you do it. And for DJ, I mean, he's a big boy. Why not use that to your advantage? Be able to get him outside the pocket. Be able to, put Georgia in a position where that pass rush just is not the same. And if you can get, the run game going, if you can get the pass game going, that will be able to soften up that pass rush, and you'll be able to run the ball a little bit. It won't be the exact same for Georgia. So I expect Clemson to be the Clemson of old, which is try to throw the football down the field, try to stretch it out from sideline to sideline too, not necessarily just taking vertical shots after every play. That's the beauty about Clemson's offense, and it's honestly like watching a artwork. When it's in motion, just how they use the entire field. It's not like one of these high school teams. They're on the far left hash, right? And they just keep throwing the ball to the left side. No, they use the entire field. And that's one of the things that I've really, really appreciated with Tony Elliott over the last couple seasons, and just how they use that offense. And I expect Clemson to do the exact same against Georgia.
I don't know if the right question, because I get asked this sometimes when I'm doing radio shows elsewhere, but people say, who's this game more important to, Clemson or Georgia? I mean, there's a huge amount of significance for both of these teams. But in your mind, I mean, who really stands to lose the most? Like, who's most in trouble of a college football playoff appearance with a loss in this game? Is it Clemson, or do you think it's Georgia?
I think outside of a blowout for either team, I think Georgia would probably be the team, to me, that would be able to bounce back from it just a little bit more, just because, if you run the table, you're going to have an opportunity to get to the SEC championship. And most likely that strength of schedule will be a little bit stronger than Clemson's. Now, I've mentioned this before. Clemson's strength of schedule is better this year than it's been in years past. And there's a good opportunity that if they do get to the ACC championship, that they'll probably either play North Carolina or Miami, two teams that are in the top 15. Two teams that, when I also add Clemson in there, the ACC has the third most top 15 teams. With those three teams being in the top 15 from the ACC, that conference has the second most, only behind the SEC. So the conference continues to get better. Yes, you're not going to see those teams in the regular season, but the point being is if they take care of business, they get to the finish line, you get to the finish line for the conference title, their strength of schedule will be good, and if you can beat them, you're going to be in good shape. So I think with Clemson, look, unless they get blown out, I don't think there is anything to worry about if they do lose this game. I think more than anything, it'll show, kind of the deficiencies that you need to be able to correct, because, yes, this is a team that is not the same as last year. The defense will definitely be the strong point, and as good as DJ was last year, like I mentioned, what can he do with the talent around him this year? And I think if there is any hiccups, regardless if it's a win, regardless if it's a loss, and we've seen over the last couple of years, Dabo and this staff, they do not waste any time getting right back to work and correcting. It's kind of like Bill Belichick with the Patriots. They try to figure out what they need to do, correct it the next week, and they throw something completely different at you. And I expect Clemson to do that. So outside of a bad loss, I think Clemson's going to be all right regardless.
Final thing for you, have people, and we've got about a minute and a half, have people overestimated, not necessarily DJ, we can focus on him another day perhaps, but JT Daniels? I mean, do we know enough about JT Daniels at this point? Just really 4 games under his belt at Georgia.
No, and I think that's the part when you look back in just the history of Georgia quarterbacks, especially the last couple of years. I kind of just feel like that's kind of the narrative, right? They've been just a team that has produced so many talented running backs that I mean, I don't want to be disrespectful to the quarterbacks that have come before me and say that you could just throw you or me out there, Swanee, at quarterback, but it's been quite some time. Probably go back to what? Matt Stafford. I mean, I'm really trying to just think of a guy that was just so consistent at that position. You didn't really necessarily need to depend on a quarterback to be able to take you to the promised land year in and year out, because they just had so many talented running backs. Now, that's not to say that the quarterbacks they're putting out there are JV quarterbacks by any means. But the point being is, it just seems like their bread and butter has always been in the run game. So, if JT Daniels can get things going, that's going to say a lot because, I mean, this is a defense that on paper should be one of the best in the country, especially with the pass rush that Clemson returns this season. So, I mean, you talk about stock standpoint. If he's able to perform, his stock's going to go through the roof.
Mike Uval, Watch Fox 57. Appreciate it, Mike. Take care, buddy.
Thanks, Wani.
All right, we'll hit a quick break. Stay with us here for more of the show that shakes the Southland.
Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Traffic problems already popping off this afternoon. Garners Ferry Road at Hallbrook Drive, Broad River Road at Atlantic Drive, Broad River Road at Centerfield Road, I-77 northbound mile marker 2, and I-20 westbound mile marker 71. From the 103.5 FM WVOC Traffic Center, I'm Gary Mills with Columbia's most dependable traffic.
This report is sponsored by JustPlainKillers.com. Heartfelt sympathy to those South Carolinians who have lost loved ones to an overdose. Communities are urged to be aware of preventive measures like Narcan. Narcan is a life-saving medication available over-the-counter at local pharmacies. Go to JustPlainKillers.com to find a pharmacy near you.
Our 2021 iHeartRadio Music Festival, September 17th and 18th.
T-Mobile Arena here in Las Vegas.
Streaming free on the CW app and CWTV.com. Listen every weekday to win your way there and win $1,000.
The biggest live music festival in the world.
Capital One is a proud partner of the 2021 iHeartRadio Music Festival, bringing great products, rewards, and services to their customers. What's in your wallet?
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. A staggering 8 million tons of plastic ends up in the world's oceans every year. If current trends continue, our oceans could contain more plastic than fish by 2050. Do your part. Purchase items made from renewable or recycled content and recycle whenever possible. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
The IRS is ramping up collection, and if you owe back taxes or have years of unfiled tax returns, listen carefully. Before it's too late, check your eligibility for the Fresh Start program still offered by the IRS to reduce or even eliminate your tax problems. Call our special hotline number now and find out in minutes if you qualify for these life-changing debt reduction programs. Business or personal, if you're in a payment plan with no end in sight, have unfiled tax returns, under audit, have a wage or bank levy, or finally just want to know your options, call the experts at Republic Tax Relief and stop collections immediately. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau with a 5-star rating from Yelp, this veteran-owned company has the fight you need to take on the IRS. Don't go at it alone. Call their hotline number now, 800-781-3626. That's 800-781-3626. Find out if you qualify today. Call 800-781-3626 or go to republictaxrelief.com.
Ever wanted your voice to be heard about a big game, but you didn't have a big enough microphone? We're lending you hours every Saturday after the Gamecocks play. Tune in to our 5th quarter post-game show, the minute the final whistle blows. Justin Hall, former Gamecock receiver Tim Frisbee, and Rob Sanders break down the game, bring you the latest news and scores, and give you the chance to call in and give your opinion about how Carolina played. The 5th quarter post-game show, part of our best Gamecock coverage game days on WVOC.
Melissa from Michigan. I work an extra part-time job serving lunch at my child's school, but I still can't afford to put food on our table.
Daniel from California. Choosing whether to pay the rent or pay to fix the car to get to work doesn't leave us with much at all. Now we can't even pay for meals.
Hunger is a story we can end. End it at feedingamerica.org. Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
Welcome back to Clemson Sports Talk. Join the show in the chat room at clemsonsportstalk.com.
It is the show that shakes the Southland, Clemson Sports Talk. Lawton Swan with you on a Tuesday afternoon. And again, a talking Tuesday, if you will. Dabo Sweeney earlier today meeting with members of the media to chat it up about everything as Clemson heads into this monumental season opener. Just a huge matchup with the Georgia Bulldogs. I don't think, as we look at it, I don't think we've really seen anything like this in a while. I kind of went through the nuances of it all a few weeks back, just about running into a team in a game of this magnitude this early in the season is substantial. And so, Clemson's got obviously national championship and college football playoff hopes in their line of sight, but the reality is that those things can quickly fade. If you don't go out and play good football this weekend, and not fade completely from existence, but sort of like Marty McFly's family, they just get the glimmer of opportunity to get there begins to fade. And so, again, always great to get a chance to talk with Mike Yuva, but even more importantly, in my opinion, great for us to be able to hear from Dabo Swinney as well. And we'll get that up for you here momentarily. So, I just think that Mike's all over it when he talks about, not just from South Carolina's perspective, but from Clemson's perspective as well. And really even from Georgia's perspective, the ground game and who controls the line of scrimmage is so important in this matchup. And we'll hear from Dabo Swinney here on the program. So momentarily, I'll get that audio up and rocking and rolling for you. 803-450-0086. You might be looking at the title of the show thinking, man, the new era, what do you mean? By the way, I have people to penalize here. SCU says, stop looking at me, Swan. Appreciate it. Nick shared the show. Nick, that's a 2-minute penalty, buddy. But I just think from the standpoint of, this Clemson Tiger football team, they can find themselves, and we kind of went through it on Friday, in a situation that you all haven't had to deal with the Clemson Tiger football team being in a long time, under 500. Clemson Tiger football team that's really not on the inside track to the college football playoff. I mean, Clemson's legitimately been on the inside track to the college football playoff every season since the end of 2015. And it's not hyperbole. Like the 2015 season, you weren't on the inside track because you were sort of I don't want to call you a relative unknown, but you weren't yet at that level. But then the following year, after losing to Alabama in the championship game, the following year, I mean, you're right there. And it's not maybe necessarily expected, but there is the belief that you could achieve that level of success. And so for me, where this season feels a little bit different, you do have a changing of the guard at quarterback. You have a significant changing of the guard at running back. And you open with just a top flight team. Does it mean that when it's all said and done, Clemson can't win this ball game? Absolutely not. I think Clemson could blister Georgia, to be honest with you. But I think Georgia's more than capable of beating Clemson by 10, 14 points if they play their best game and Clemson's having a poor performance. I mean, this is not a game for the faint of heart. Many people believe it's going to come down to the final few minutes. That may very well be the case. But to me, the reality of what we're looking at is so different because we just haven't had Clemson necessarily in a situation similar to this in recent memory. And that's where it is a good bit different. Because in recent years, when you've lost, you've been in the college football playoff. You've not had to really battle back. Now, maybe you go back to the loss against Pittsburgh But that weekend, if you remember, was just a wild weekend where all of a sudden across the country, there was like this unraveling in front of Clemson that really helped them out. But for the most part, where this feels so different to me is simply the fact that you're playing a top flight team. That's you're accustomed to. But if you come out on the back end of this, you really have a ton of work to do to put yourself not necessarily, quote, back in the conversation. I think you'll probably still exist in the conversation, but to just have that surefire feeling that you're going to be there. 803-450-0086. Linda says, finally, some Clemson orange. Yeah, I fired up the old Clemson Sports Talk t-shirt today. Kyle's also in the house. He wants to know how everybody's weekend was. Appreciate you, Kyle. He's the honey king of the upstate, I like to call him. Great weekend. A little worn out. Going to continue to be worn out as college football gets rocking and rolling. Got all the credentials and everything. And my guy, David Grooms, will be taking photos for us in Charlotte for this matchup. And this is a similar but yet very unique feeling. Like if you worked one job and let's say you were an accountant and you went from business A to business B. I mean, it's the same job, so you know it, but it's a different atmosphere. And that's what this game is. It's a very similar scenario to what we've seen in the past, but the outcome can put you in a pretty different spot. Not saying your back's against the wall, but Clemson fans, you become accustomed to being in the college football playoff conversation. You've been accustomed to this. And yeah, we're always just a loss or two away as fans of this sport from being out. But, buddy, starting off your season 0-1, that's a big change of perspective. We'll hear from Dabo Sweeney coming up here on the program right after this. Stay with us for more of the show that shakes the Southland.
Are you thinking about refinancing your home, but worried that closing costs could cancel out any money you would save? It could happen. In fact, average closing costs for a $300,000 home in South Carolina are over $2,000. Yikes! How's that going to save you money? Cap your costs with a zero closing cost mortgage from Cap Center, your local mortgage lender.
This is our 6th time using Cap Center. And once again, the quality of service and speed of processing was excellent, and the savings are substantial.
This was my 3rd refinance with Cap Center. I've been very satisfied. The entire process is simple, never any surprises, and zero closing costs means zero closing costs.
Cap your closing costs. Visit capcenter.com. Equal housing lender. Visit capcenter.com for rates, savings, and offer limitations. This ad contains real client feedback voiced by actors. NMLS ID 67717. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Let me tell you who I trust to protect my home and my family. Modern Exterminating. Hey, it's Lawton Swan, and when you need top quality service from a team that knows what bugs you, call Modern Exterminating. 765-2315. They're locally owned and offer a full complement of pest elimination services, including complete pest control, termite plans, moisture control, and more. Check out Modern Exterminating online at pestfreesc.com or give them a call today. 765-2315. Modern Exterminating. They know what bugs you.
Now the forecast from the Red Shirt Guys Roofing. TheRedShirtGuys.com.
Tonight, look for on and off showers. The temperature is dipping to the low 70s. Tomorrow, more rain. The afternoon highs coming in the mid 80s. For Channel 25, ABC Columbia, I'm Chief Meteorologist John Farley.
This report is sponsored by JustPlainKillers.com. Heartfelt sympathy to those South Carolinians who have lost loved ones to an overdose. Communities are urged to be aware of preventive measures like Narcan. Narcan is a life-saving medication available over the counter at local pharmacies. Go to JustPlainKillers.com to find a pharmacy near you.
When I grow up, I want to be a new pair of blue jeans. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's first computer. When I grow up, I want to be a glass countertop in a new home. When I grow up, I want to be a kid's best birthday present. When I grow up, I want to be a football stadium. When I grow up, I want to be a warm fleece on a cold day. When I grow up, I want to be a fancy backsplash. I want to be a bike that races around the country. When I grow up, I want to be a bench on a forest trail. I want to be a rocking chair on a sunny porch. I want to be a skyscraper. I want to be. When I grow up, I don't want to be a piece of garbage. And if you recycle me, I won't be.
Give your garbage another life. Recycle. Learn how at iwanttoberecycled.org. A public service advertisement brought to you by Keep America Beautiful and the Ad Council.
Chances are there'll never be an emergency ever again. But just in case, let's talk about a plan.
Okay.
Who is going to grab the go bag?
What's a go bag? It is a bag we do not have that is filled with things we really, really need in an emergency.
Guess we won't have to worry about it then.
Well, this is great. I am so glad that we don't have a plan.
Winging it is not an emergency plan. Make sure your kids know what to do during an emergency, who to call, where to meet, what to pack. Visit ready.gov/kids for tips and information. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Families affected by disasters urgently need support. Help the American Red Cross provide meals and shelter to those affected by disasters, big and small. Donate to Red Cross Disaster Relief. Go to redcross.org or call 1-800-RED-CROSS.
Broadcasting from the TrueCar.com studios. This is Columbia's Fox Sports Radio, 1400.
Dabo Swinney only went 40 some odd minutes today during his Talking Tuesday press conference up in Tigertown. So if you know anything about this show, you know we like to give you some of that, but I definitely prefer to slice it and dice it. I like to give it to you a little bit more segmented than perhaps the way Dabo Swinney does give it to you. But today, in lieu of that, we're not rolling 40 minutes, believe me, but we are going to roll some of his opening statements and comments for you here on Clemson Sports Talk. Again, it is the show that shakes the Southland each and every afternoon as you hang out with us anywhere in the world. That's right, anywhere in the world you can listen, also on the iHeart Radio application. So make sure you download that today. And if you're watching us on YouTube, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. So up in Tigertown today, again, it does feel good. I will say this never gets old. This never gets old. This feeling never changes. The first real conversations of game week from Clemson's head football coach here on the show that shakes the Southland.
Okay, good to see everybody. Well, we're excited. It's game week finally. Everything builds this for us. So a lot of excitement around here, getting ready for a great matchup. But before we get into the game, just thoughts and prayers with all the people in Louisiana. We've got guys from that area as well, so just keeping them in our thoughts and prayers, and hopefully, can get through a very difficult time. But want to have the right perspective there as we get focused on this game, because there's a lot of people who are hurting right now, and we know that. Game week is always exciting. Every single week. I mean, again, everything builds to this. You only get 12 opportunities that they give you on your schedule, and whatever comes after that, is a result of what you did on those 12 days. And, if you go all the way to the national championship, that's 15 days. And the other 350 you spend preparing and dreaming and planning and working toward and building toward, these moments. So it's exciting to finally have the opportunity to go play. And I can't wait to see us play. I'm excited to see where we are, because you just coming off a month of camp. So where are we and what do we got to do to get better? And, huge challenge, obviously, in Georgia. I think this is, I think it's the fourth time in the last 21 years, I guess, since 2000 that there's been a top 5 matchup as an opener. So these are rare moments that you have games like this. So really difficult challenge right out of the gate, playing a team that's good enough to win the whole thing. But we're excited about it. Look forward to it. And when you look at Georgia, they're built in the trenches on both sides. Massive on both sides. They're built to stop the run. They've led the country 2 years in a row in rush defense and yards per carry. nobody's really ran the ball on them. They've had a moment here or there, but really stout, very aggressive as far as how they support the run, but they're built up the middle. I mean, 99 and 95 are pros, and they're as good as you're gonna find. Big, strong, pocket movers. They just don't get moved at the point of attack very often. And then the backers, outstanding players, very, very experienced. And then those safeties, great players, very involved in the run game, physical.
There you go. Dabo Swinney sort of previewing the Georgia Bulldogs. And again, the emphasis on that defensive front and what those guys can do. And that, again, is one of their strengths going up against one of the areas of concern that a lot of Clemson Tiger fans have had over the past few months as we've sort of got wind of, I don't want to call it indecision, but there seems to still be some maneuvering that's taking place right there on that offensive line. We heard Tony Elliott touching on it yesterday and really trying to anchor things down for Clemson up front. It's been more of a task, I think, than it has been for most people in a while. Let's see. Now, my sister's listening to the show today. She says, I don't think you're on iHeart. I double-checked it. I could hear it on the iHeart radio app, so that was working for me. But again, going to be a big day for the Clemson Tigers on Saturday against Georgia up in Charlotte. Esley checks in. He says, hey, let's put 2 running backs in the backfield and use one as a blocker. Keep the dogs guessing. Isn't it funny? Like, if you think about Clemson and Georgia in the old days, dude, like I picture like Chris Lancaster for Clemson. The incredibly you got 2 things. Well, maybe there's more if you really look at it, but the center in the NBA essentially vanishing. I mean, occasionally you got a team that's got a great center on it now. And the fullback in college football. I mean, things that were coast to coast. Everybody was running with a fullback back in the day. Not anymore. Esley wants to reset it. Esley says he didn't actually say this, but he wants Danny Ford and Vince Dooley on the sidelines too. Just old school. Jacob listening to the show on YouTube. Thanks, Jacob. Make sure you hit that subscribe button, buddy. He said, if DJ has a huge game Saturday with a Clemson win, do you think it could give him a head start to make a Heisman run? Yeah, I think so. I think that now I've said this since this summer, Jacob. I think the winner of this game and the way the quarterback plays, if they play well, is going to be in the mix for that conversation. And the thing that neither of these guys has to overcome at this point is this sort of pre-built incumbent. Like if Justin Fields was still playing, he would be the guy to beat. If Trevor Lawrence was still playing, he would be the guy to beat. And so none of these guys really have to overcome that, like this unequivocal, this is the number one guy. Like it feels like this Heisman Trophy is sort of wide open, and Spencer Rattler's name's been the one at the top. But as far as age and experience goes, I mean, he doesn't blow me out of the water as somebody that I go, man, he's going to be the lock. I mean, he's going to have to perform. And DJ's right there nipping on his heels already. So, sure, on this stage, you heard Dabo Swinney talk about how few and far between games of this magnitude are out of the gate with national audience. I mean, if DJ were to go out there and just light it up and have a huge performance, I think the absolute conversations the next day and even probably in the waning moments, if Clemson were to win by 21 points or something where the analysts can talk about this, would be, man, it seems like DJ is already kind of putting his foot in that Heisman Trophy conversation, maybe the front runner. Stay with us.
Nielsen says more than 30 million Americans are now tuning into Newsmax TV. It's one of the biggest media stories. Newsmax is available on all major cable systems. And if you cut the cord and don't get cable, you can still get Newsmax. Find it on your smart TVs like Samsung, LG, and more. Just go to your smart TV channel guide or download the free Newsmax app. Newsmax also streams free on Roku, Zumo, Pluto, Amazon Fire, or TiVo. And 7 million people have the Newsmax app app on their smartphone. It takes seconds to download it to your phone, and there's no paywall or subscription. So watch Newsmax for breaking news anytime, anywhere. Forbes described Newsmax as a news powerhouse. Find out why tens of millions of Americans are watching Newsmax TV and going to Newsmax.com for breaking news. It's a source you can trust. Newsmax is real news for real people.
Hi, I'm Pat Struby, and I host the show Save Your Retirement each Saturday here on WVOC. One concern my clients have is what to do about Medicare. In my experience, what most people want is a trusted advisor who can show them their Medicare options. My friend Tim Hanberry understands the ins and outs of Medicare and is the author of a book called Medicare Blueprint. Tim walks you through the entire process, from helping you sign up with Medicare, picking the right plan, and then making sure you have your ID cards. He has done this for my clients, and I recommend him to you. So if it's your time for Medicare, call us at 803-9-RETIRE and set up a time to speak with him. He'll listen to your individual circumstances and then give you the kind of straightforward advice you're looking for. Make this easy on yourself. Go to MedicareBlueprint.com or call 803-9-RETIRE to set up an appointment.
Tim Hanberry is an independent agent. Pat Struby is not compensated by Tim. Neither Pat nor Tim are affiliated with Medicare, the U.S. government, or any governmental agency.
Start fall with everything to do business better during Dell Technologies Labor Day event. Save up to 45% on select business PCs with Windows 10 Pro. Power your workday with savings on Dell servers, monitors, docks, and other accessories, plus free shipping on everything. Do more with modern devices and Windows 10 Pro. Call 877-ASK-DELL for a Dell Technologies advisor who can help you find the right tech. That's 877-ASK-DELL for business specials during Dell's Labor Day event.
Spicy chicken nugs. We didn't say Wendy's, but you probably thought Wendy's, and you thought right. With a unique blend of spices, these are the spicy nugs that other spicy nugs wish they were. And with Wendy's new Ghost Pepper Ranch sauce, you'll reach new levels of spicy. So you're probably thinking, where's the closest Wendy's? Get the only 6-piece spicy nuggets worthy of their name for free with purchase in the Wendy's app.
Limited time only. Participating U.S. Wendy's offer must be redeemed via the Wendy's app. App download and account registration required. Not valid with other offers. See offer and app for additional terms.
Hi, I'm host Sophie Morgan, inviting you to listen to Equal To, a new podcast about achieving disability equality. With the Paralympic Games happening in Tokyo, we're asking, where should the story go next? Equal To is brought to you by the Emmy Award-winning team that created Rising Phoenix and made possible by the support of Procter & Gamble. Listen to Equal To, that's Equal, T-O-O, part of Seneca's Conversations on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
For 60 years now, the Federation Center of the Blind has been making a difference in the lives of visually impaired South Carolinians through its innovative services. You can help them continue their important work by calling 803-254-3777 or emailing nfbsc@sc.rr.com.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Online at foxsportsradio1400.com. On your phone with the iHeartRadio app and on hundreds of devices like Alexa, Google Home, Xbox, and Sonos. An iHeartRadio station.
Like, share, and subscribe, especially to the YouTube channel. We are up like over 135, 140 new subscribers on YouTube. Blowing my mind. We're going for 1,000 before Game 6. I think I could push that. I think I could push that and say we're going to get 1,000 before maybe Game 3. But I'm going to leave it open. And I think we're going to be doing some giveaways through our YouTube channel. So that's exciting. So if you're listening on YouTube or not, go over to YouTube and subscribe. Again, Talking Tuesday here. Dabo Sweeney speaking about the Georgia Bulldogs. We'll get back to some of those comments. We heard his opening statements earlier. Also, Brett Ciancia, Pick Six Previews, joins us. A big college football weekend. Thank goodness. Last week was just the appetizer. This is the full course meal to open up the season. And Clemson in Georgia. Oh, that is the steak and shrimp or lobster or the surf and turf, whatever you like. Whatever your favorite. I don't care if your favorite meal is a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. That's the peanut butter and jelly of the weekend. Believe me on that front. So, again, we'll hear some more from Dabo Sweeney here on the program. Right now, as he was talking about the out of the gates, we were hearing his opening statements, but now a little more specific on the comments from Coach Sweeney. And he was asked about, Clemson and Georgia facing off and just the the rivalry that is and the significance of it as these two are basically backyard neighbors, so to speak.
Well, yeah, I mean, it just, makes sense. I mean, you're right down the road from each other. And I mean, we've played big opponents for 12 years since I've been the head coach here. That's kind of what we've done. I mean, we've gone all the way out to A&M. We've gone to Auburn. We've done a couple of kickoff classic type things now. So, I think it brings a lot of excitement to it, and certainly the fans love it. Anytime you play a quality opponent like we've played over the years, but Clemson, Georgia is not just a quality game and quality opponent. There's a tradition there that and a history that I think both sides, have a lot of respect for. There's been a lot of unbelievable moments in the Clemson, Georgia game, over the years. So I know I remember when I got the job in 08, 09, I mean, people were talking about playing Georgia in 2013. I remember that vividly. Like how we're going to play Georgia. It's like I don't even know if I'm going to be the head coach or alive in 2000. I'm just trying to survive 09. And people are asking me about playing Georgia in 2013. So it's a big deal. It means a lot. Your proximity, fan bases, living on top of each other in both states, Clemson people, Georgia people. So I think that just adds to the excitement. It's what makes college football, fun is rivalries like this.
Again, Dabo Swinney earlier today up in Tiger Town talking about Clemson's matchup. I don't know why that's not pausing, so I apologize for that. Dabo Swinney talking about Clemson's matchup with Georgia. I don't know what was going on, man. I'm hitting pause, coach. But he wasn't pausing. Timeout. Let me get a TO, coach. But he was also asked about Fred Davis. And obviously Fred Davis was involved in a pretty terrible car accident, reckless. And he was asked if Fred Davis would be available. Clemson has talked about, and Dabo Swinney has talked about some internal how they're going to handle this thing internally. And, I think some people would say, man, I can't believe Fred Davis isn't suspended. I think there will be people out there that would say that. But here's Coach Swinney's explanation about Fred Davis and whether or not he will be available this weekend for Clemson.
Everybody's available, and I think, we're all still kind of living in a COVID world, and that's just kind of how we're going to handle it, really the same as last year. Regardless of what situation is, we're just going to say who's available and who's not available and keep moving on. So everybody is available at this point, except for a couple guys that we've talked about from a long-term injury standpoint.
So to me, hearing Coach Swinney talk there, it sounds more like the Fred Davis situation as far as discipline is something that with the COVID scenarios that we're dealing with is just something that at this time, I guess, is not going to be handled. Now, I don't know if Coach Swinney, I haven't been able to get through all of this audio yet. I don't know if he addressed it further, but I think most people can understand how something like that would be looked at this point. Also, just given the COVID issues. But Swinney was asked, do you have a level of comfort this year dealing with COVID-19 because you've been through this already?
Yeah, and there's a vaccine. We've got very few guys on our team who have not been vaccinated, very few, and our staff is vaccinated. So that gives you a whole lot more comfort level. So last year we didn't have that, and it's not that you can't get it, but it's like knowing it's freezing outside and you go out there when you dress properly and you got your toboggan on and you got a heavy jacket and some thermals and, you still get a cold, but you at least doing everything you can to protect yourself. And so I feel a lot better about that as far as the odds of getting it as, vaccinated. Again, you can get it, and then also, the symptoms hopefully not being as severe if somebody does get get COVID. So I'm thankful for that, and it shows that it works. So I'm thankful that we have that as an option, and we didn't have that last year, and hopefully we can mitigate more throughout the season and continue to have guys available and ready to play. And then the quarantining, the because of vaccination status and things like that, the protocols, the quarantining, all that stuff. Last year, that was the biggest issue. Was if a guy got COVID, it was the contact tracing and all that. And so we're just in a much different space than we were last year.
Dabo Swinney there again, getting set for Clemson's matchup with Georgia, just talking about how the protocols to a degree will be changing from the standpoint of having so many guys vaccinated on the team. Didn't say 100% vaccinated. We have heard some teams that have said that, but just kind of hearing his thoughts on it. And, I thought his comparison to, when it's cold weather, just doing what you can to stay warm. Doesn't mean it'll keep you completely warm, but it helps. All right, we'll hit a quick break. Hour 2, Brett Ciancia at Pick Six Previews next.
Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports, Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Brake lights all over I-77, I-77 northbound, mile marker 22, accident. I-77 northbound, mile marker 19. A hit and run, I-77 southbound, mile marker 15 and a half. Accidents, Raven Road at Ross Road. I-20 westbound, mile marker 51. And an accident with injuries, Wilson Road at Boomer Road. From the 103.5 FM WBOC Traffic Center, I'm Gary Mills with Columbia's most dependable traffic.
This report is sponsored by JustPlainKillers.com. Heartfelt sympathy to those South Carolinians who have lost loved ones to an overdose. Communities are urged to be aware of preventive measures like Narcan. Narcan is a life-saving medication available over the counter at local pharmacies. Go to JustPlainKillers.com to find a pharmacy near you.
Group training is a fun, accountable way to get in shape. I'm Coach Stewart of Dynamic Health and Fitness. Come train with one of our special groups today. We will focus on giving you the support you need to get in shape. We use the Dynamic Mob, featuring intervals of cardio, functional training, and strength training to change your lifestyle to make you healthy. Get started today at any of our locations in Lexington or West Columbia, or call 803-408-4060 or online at dynamichealthclub.com.
I'm Mark Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of justice. Our friends at the Peace in the Streets Global Film Festival are introducing their Kids, Cops, and Kindness Equals Safer Streets initiative. And this promotes the United Nations 11th Sustainable Development Goal. I'm inviting everyone, 18 and under, to visit psgff.com to learn how to create a short video about how you envision creating peace in the streets and enter it into this year's Peace in the Streets Global Film Festival.
We're planning a trip to Spain later this year.
But our Spanish
is pretty bad.
When you learn a language, you want to actually use it. Babbel is designed with that goal in mind. Babbel's conversation-based method teaches you real-life words and phrases. And with Babbel's interactive, bite-sized lessons, you'll remember what you learned.
¿Cómo te llamas? ¿Cómo te llamas?
¿De dónde eres?
¿De dónde eres?
No matter your learning style or experience level, Babbel has lessons designed for you that will get you speaking quickly and confidently.
I tried learning Spanish before, but I couldn't stick with it until I found Babbel.
There's no easier way to learn another language.
Ahora hablamos español.
He just said, now we speak Spanish.
I can't wait to use our new language skills on our upcoming adventures.
Babbel, language for life, celebrating 10 million subscriptions sold. Now try Babbel for free at Babbel.com. Just go to Babbel.com and start learning a new language today. That's Babbel.com. Babbel.com.
You wanted to see me?
Yes, please, have a seat. So here's the thing. When this company brought you on, we took a chance on you. You didn't have that 4-year college degree we typically look for.
Right.
But we gave you a shot anyway. And since then, you've worked incredibly hard and given it your all.
Thanks.
You've been an important asset to the team, but I don't think you can be an intern here anymore. We want to hire you.
You're serious?
Absolutely.
Find your next great employee. Introduce yourself to the grads of life. Who are they? Talent worth knowing about. Young adults of unique determination and experience. an ideal fit for your company in an entry-level position, internship, or even mentorship. They might not have every qualification you typically look for, but they're exactly who your company needs.
I won't let you down.
I know.
Don't miss out on a resource many innovative companies have already discovered. Go to gradsoflife.org to learn how to find, cultivate, and train this great pool of untapped talent. Brought to you by the Ad Council and gradsoflife.org.
WCOS Columbia, Fox Sports Radio 1400, an iHeartRadio station available everywhere on our free iHeartRadio app. Number one for music, radio, and podcasts, all in one.
It's time for Clemson Sports Talk with Lawton Swan.
Please call me Swanee.
Tiger style. Tiger style.
It is hour number 2. That's drive time right here on the show that shakes the Southland. Clemson Sports Talk. Tommy's in the house. He's watching on YouTube. He probably hit that subscribe button. He said he loves the show, Swanee. Tommy, man, appreciate you. He also shared the show, which is why I am putting him in the penalty box. Nobody shares this show. Don't you dare. How could you? How could you help me grow? How could you support me? Appreciate everybody for being a part of what we do. Thank you so much. And again, don't forget, if you really want to support us and help us continue to grow financially, monetarily, you can join ClemsonSportsTalk.com, bringing you more recruiting coverage. I got a little sneaky tip coming up for you here on that front in the very near future. So looking to do some more stuff online. Again, the most digital content covering your Clemson Tigers. It is Clemson Sports Talk. So normally, if you just joined us, if you're a Gamecock peeking over the fence and you're like, Swanee, I'm going to jump in. I can't wait. My man Mike Uva is going to be here. I get it. Mike's normally here at this hour. Unfortunately, you're going to have to check the podcast because Mike Uva joined us in hour number 1. Okay? So Mike Uva's been here. Instead, in hour number 2 of the show today on a Wednesday, we go to Brett Cianci, a Pick Six Previews, man, the best preview magazine in the business. Not just loaded up with a bunch of acronyms and stuff you can't understand. No. Digital. Great graphics. Updated recently. Brett Cianci getting set to join the program, and we always have a good time. Talk with him about college football as it is a matter of significance, not just in Clemson this weekend with their matchup with the Georgia Bulldogs, but also for the ACC. You've got a matchup between Miami and Alabama. You got a matchup between Louisville and Ole Miss. So just a lot of great ball games out there on the docket. And this past weekend, a little taste of college football for you. Brett, welcome back in, man. Appreciate you being a part of the program.
Yeah, Lawton, thanks for having me. It's game week. It's about time, right?
Oh, man, I tell you what, and I said earlier, and I'll see if you feel this way, like last week felt like the appetizer, and it was a pretty decent appetizer, I thought, because Illinois got the job done. Brett Bielema, 1-0 in his tenure there, but how big of a loss was that for Scott Frost? Just a punch in the gut for Nebraska fans.
Yeah, it's a monumental loss right there because, not just losing to Illinois, who was picked unanimously in last place in the Big Ten West, but more so just the idea that this is year 4 for Scott Frost and year 4 for quarterback Adrian Martinez as a starter. And you thought that by now a lot of these mistakes would be taken care of. It did not look like a fourth-year coach team. The way they caught a punt at their goal line and had a safety call from that, not just 1 but 2 extra points missed. A fumble where Adrian Martinez was barely touched, and that was returned for a touchdown. Just so many bonehead plays, and that's really plagued them the first 3 years, and here it is in year 4 again. So at this point, I don't know what would change, and you saw really an outclassing in the coaching department by a first-year Brett Bielema, and his team played pretty clean football.
Yeah, I tell you, that was the appetizer, and then the other game too. I thought UCLA. I thought UCLA was pretty impressive, and it seems like this is going to be a key year for them, and really maybe more so a key year just for the Pac-12 in general. But what were your takeaways from the Bruins game?
Yeah, they kind of came as advertised. I had them 27th in my preseason poll in my book, just right there outside the top 25 barely, and they looked like it. So they played a complete game on both sides of the ball. I know it was an inferior opponent, but the mark of a top 25 team is handling those kinds of teams, not letting them stay around or go into the fourth quarter close. I mean, UCLA took care of that really early on, and it allowed the backup Ethan Garbers to get a lot of playing time too, the backup quarterback who transferred down from Washington. So, very valuable kickoff for them. They look as advertised, like I said, and I don't think many people are taking note. Really, they're a solid team. Really, just Vegas, because when you look at the Vegas line, it's they're only underdogs by a field goal against LSU, top 15 powerhouse there. So that's going to be a heck of a game. And really, I mean, it's a very crowded weekend. I'm calling it the greatest opening weekend ever because,
wow.
I mean, when you really break it down, because not only do you have a top 5 matchup, which you guys are all getting fired up for, Clemson, Georgia, you have the Big Ten bringing their conference matchups and big ones into the first week with Indiana versus Iowa, a ranked game. Penn State, Wisconsin's ranked. And then in total, you have 5 ranked versus ranked matchups. So then the fact that it's spread out over 5 days, you got Thursday night, Friday, all day Saturday, and then a couple of night games Sunday, Monday. So it's an incredible kickoff and well-deserved after a long offseason.
Yeah, and that was going to be my question to you, just not necessarily in terms of the Power 5, Brett, but, you get football on Wednesday as well with Jacksonville State and UAB. And, I mean, just that extended run of games with a Sunday night matchup between Notre Dame and Florida State, then Monday's Louisville and Ole Miss, the length of time to consume this, it's like a buffet, man. I mean, it's going to be a lot of fun this weekend, and I know you'll be hunkered down getting ready to watch these games, but boy, it feels like a busy 5-6 days.
Yeah, and also when you look at Thursday night and Friday night, it's not just one game, it's double headers. I know that UNC versus Virginia Tech kicks off at 6 on Friday, and there's a game right after it at 9 Friday night. And I think the same is true on Thursday, where there's like 15 games to choose from. So, it's just I just can't wait, especially after, like I said, 2020 with no non-conference, so you get that back. But just in general, of having everyone back on time and stadiums and tailgates, and it'll really feel like we're back, I hope. And hopefully everything's as safe as expected. But I think it's going to be a really special weekend for the sport.
Of course, Brett Ciancia's website, pick6previews.com. He does a tremendous job. Take a look at his Twitter account as well, at pick6previews. So let's talk about the Thursday night matchup between number 4 Ohio State and Minnesota, because I think most people believe that Ohio State is a team that's going to compete for the college football playoff. I don't disagree with that at all. But an opening game, you watch enough of these matchups to know, man, strange things happen. You put the ball on the ground. You have inexplicable. I mean, you kind of mentioned some of the stuff that happened in that Nebraska game, just weird things that take place. To me, at Minnesota on the road in an opener is probably a little more testy than some people might think for the Buckeyes. Or am I just wrong on that?
Well, no, I think it's a common theme right now. I actually side the other way. I think that they'll cover the 2-touchdown spread, the 14 points. A couple things here. Minnesota on the road is a lot different on a hot track in August than it is in the cold snow in November. So that really hurts their home field advantage, playing this on a dry surface like this. Ohio State running up and down. But then also, I think it's unfair to compare them to Nebraska, and it's just such a better coached team and program at Ohio State. You're not going to see the kind of shenanigans you saw from Nebraska last Saturday. I think that with the number one the number one running back in the country, Travion Henderson, multiple number one receivers, and then 4 or 5-star quarterbacks to choose from. It might be younger and inexperienced, but the talent level is incredible. So, and specifically matchup-wise, Minnesota's defense looks like the uncertainty. So that plays right into Ohio State going through a quarterback and an offensive change. So Minnesota's real strength is their offensive line, but that pairs a good matchup for Ohio State's defensive front, which I think has a couple All-American caliber guys in Haskell Garrett and Zach Harrison. So it kind of neutralizes Minnesota's strengths, and I think Ohio State rolls with them.
Friday night, the big matchup in the ACC will be North Carolina at Virginia Tech, and a lot of people would classify this year for Justin Fuente as sort of a must win or leave the year on a positive impact. I mean, where do you see that Virginia Tech program right now under Coach Fuente? And, how important is it for them to not only look competitive against North Carolina, but to maybe make this a game on ESPN, a national network where everybody's going to be tuning in and seeing you very early on in the season?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you remember this time last year, it was kind of a consensus opinion. Everybody was saying how there won't be any firings or coaching carousel this year because of the athletic funds and the lack of revenue. We're going to hold on to everybody and give a mulligan year. Well, it turns out it was the Wild Wild West as always. But the one place where that held true was Blacksburg, where for whatever reason they retained Justin Fuente. It certainly wasn't for on the field reasons. It was Virginia Tech's first losing season in like 20 years and snapped their NCAA long bowl streak at 22 years. So so it was poor on the field. They've lost now to all three Virginia FBS teams now the last 3 years. UVA obviously, but then Liberty and Old Dominion, a couple upstart programs. So this is a bad look. So it's a huge test this year. I think that they're going to be improved on defense now that they're in their second year under coordinator Justin Hamilton. A lot less crazy stuff that happened last year with opt-outs and quarantines and transfers. It's more of a cohesive unit this year. So I think they'll give UNC a test, and that's a tough opener for Mac Brown's squad too. A couple uncertainties with this game, so it'll be must-see TV there at Lane Stadium.
Now, one of the other things on moving forward in the weekend on Saturday that I think will interest Clemson is the news that came out yesterday that former Clemson running back Chez Mellusi is going to be the starter for Wisconsin. And for Clemson Tiger fans who maybe aren't keeping score at home, I mean, this is a top 15 Wisconsin ball club. And, Clemson's sort of, I don't want to say they have question marks at running back, but there's still sort of this, hey, who's going to be the guy who's going to replace Travis Etienne? That's a big matchup for Wisconsin. They'll take on Penn State, or they'll host Penn State, I should say, on Fox at noon. But Chez Mellusi, the former Tiger, will be the starter at running back for the Wisconsin Badgers, man. What an interesting way to start the Saturday morning slate for Tiger fans.
Yeah, that's a huge opener. I mean, like I said, normally with the Big Ten, those games come in November, but that's a colossal matchup right out of the gate. And to speak to that, Chez Mellusi news, that's pretty big. Sometimes when you look at the transfer portal, it can say a lot about the program that they leave behind and the depth chart they leave behind, because if he's able to start at Wisconsin, just come in there and take over running back U, as it's known, what does that say about the stuff that, the competition that he left at Clemson? That means there's some absolute incredible talent,
Right.
to be, I don't want to say scared away, but, to go somewhere else in the transfer portal. That means that those two guys in-house are incredible with Dixon and Will Shipley. I know that Shipley's a true freshman, but I checked out his high school tape. I mean, he's untouched the first 7 plays. It's incredible. So, I think that they're going to be fine there. And congrats to Mellusi finding a place to start. You want everyone to get what they want out of the college experience. So I think Tigers will be cheering them on.
Kind of a weird question for you, Britt, but the Tulane Oklahoma game had to shift venues because of the hurricane that came through just a few days ago, and that's no surprise to anybody. But I mean, how hard is that in your mind for like the kids at Tulane and other programs like LSU that have sort of had to vacate that area? I mean, just as a guy that follows the sport the way you do, I mean, how significant is that? Or do you feel like these young men are pretty flexible and can get through those kind of things without really any hiccups?
Well, yeah, I think if you'd asked me that 2 years ago, I'd have said it's unheard of and it's crazy. I mean, I think the 2020 showed how resilient these players and coaches and staffs and programs are, the way that they had to switch opponents on the drop of a dime. At least the California schools, for example, I think it was Stanford and Cal, they had to leave their area to practice. They had to practice up in state of Washington for a couple of weeks. So anyway, I think that these programs through the last year and a half have really shown flexibility and resilience and, able to grind down and get it done. This cancellation in New Orleans was a good reminder that, things are bigger than football. We get so caught up in everything. I saw tweets about, oh no, there goes Oklahoma's win total, my prop bets. It's like, all right, let's take a step back, as things more important, and hopefully they're all doing okay there, But, hopefully they get a way to play the game in and everyone's safe back home too. So we'll see what happens there.
Again, pick6previews.com is his website, a fantastic preseason magazine. Still, you could go right now, get your hands on it, lock in, have it on your mobile device, man. Nothing beats it. Again, he's on Twitter at Pick6Previews as well. Brett Ciancia with us here on Clemson Sports Talk, and we try to make him a weekly guest during the college football season when he can squeeze us in. All right, final thing for you, Brett, because I know you got to get out of here at about 5:15. I want to ask you about Alabama and Miami, and I know we've touched on this, but as we get closer and closer to kickoff of this game, I mean, like Clemson, like Ohio State, Alabama's got a new quarterback, and you just never know. What does this game look like, in your opinion, when it's all said and done Saturday evening?
Yeah, well, I know it makes for probably a boring radio answer, but I really like Alabama to roll them. And that's more a testament to Miami, because I think that they had their window of opportunity last year. Their defensive pass rush was incredible with those three guys, Quincy Roche, Greg Rousseau, and Jalen Phillips, all high NFL draft picks there. All three of them are gone. Going through a defensive coordinator change hurts. The year-to-year, consistency. The receivers had the number one drop rate in the country last year. De'Ara King a little banged up coming off that injury. And then the worst news I heard was Zion Nelson, their All-American caliber guard or offensive lineman, is now out for the game, or at least is rumored to be out. So you lose him against a fierce Alabama front seven, it's going to be tough. So I think Alabama, despite the youth and the new starters, I think they roll. Think of Saban. He had 9 months to prep for this game. So I like him to win this one big.
So what I hear, not keeping it close.
No, I think they cover that 18 or 18 and a half. So,
wow.
Especially, always take Alabama first half lines. That's kind of the trend, and the numbers back it up too. They come out of the gate fierce. So, if you're on the betting side of that, go first half.
Always appreciate you, man. Keep up the great work.
Thanks, guys. Enjoy week one. Good luck.
All right, Brett Ciazzi, Pick Six preview. So he says the Tide are going to roll. Ooh, man, that's not the news you want to hear. Not that you have to be an ACC rah-rah guy, but one of the things I talked about earlier facing Georgia in this opener is Clemson's ability to fight their way back into the national title picture and conversation. And it's not outside the realm of possibility to imagine a scenario where Oklahoma maybe goes undefeated, Ohio State maybe goes undefeated. And I know we don't have a lot of seasons where tons of teams go undefeated, but I could give you a scenario where at the end of the year, Georgia makes it in the SEC championship game and gets beat. And the argument has to come down to Clemson versus Georgia. And Georgia beat you heads up. Like that's like when it was Clemson versus Notre Dame. If Clemson and Notre Dame had not played a second time, then it'd been tough to put Clemson in. But Clemson got to answer that challenge in the ACC championship and stamp their ticket to the playoffs, and Notre Dame was the one that had to wait. You don't get that rematch with Georgia in the ACC championship game. You don't get an opportunity for redemption against the Dogs. And if they go undefeated and Alabama goes undefeated and Alabama beats them and maybe even barely beats them, why would the committee put in Clemson, who lost to Georgia? Who cares if it was 12 weeks ago? Why would they put Clemson in over Georgia if that's their only loss? Now, it may not be. It may not be. But I'm presenting the scenario that, hey, look, this game is of significance. And not just for Georgia, but for Clemson as well. And I think Georgia feels like if they lose to Clemson, they can run the table and still get in the playoffs. I mean, this game is important to both teams, but there is no doubt that if it comes down to Clemson versus Georgia, if that's the argument that has to be made for the final spot in the college football playoff months from now, this game could hinge that conversation to put it in Georgia's wheelhouse. Another game we didn't get to talk about with Brett, but I think Tiger fans will at least want to tune in to a degree and check it out, is Texas hosting Louisiana Lafayette, the Raging Cajuns, on Fox 430. Billy Napier's squad, number 23 in the country. Steve Sarkisian, year one at Texas, number 21 in the country. Like, what a huge game for Napier. Huge game. And again, your Clemson Tigers, number 3 in all of the land, taking on the Georgia Bulldogs. 7:30 kickoff, ABC from Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte. I mean, that's what dreams are made of if you're a college football fan. Top 5 season opener. 2 of the best teams in the country going at it. Look, during the break, do us a favor if you are watching the show. Go tune in over on YouTube, on our YouTube channel. Just search for Clemson Sports Talk and hit that subscribe button. Let's get it up. Let's get to 500 this week. Let's do it. We'll hit a quick break. We'll come back. Can't wait for you to hear from Trenton Simpson. Right after this.
Now your chance to win $1,000 and a trip to our iHeartRadio Music Festival. Text the nationwide keyword FLIGHT to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in this nationwide contest. That's FLIGHT to 200-200. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Traffic-wise, you guys are just out there wilding in the streets. Actually, it's Garnis Ferry Road and Irene Road. I-20 westbound, mile marker 71. I-26 eastbound, mile marker 108. Trenham Road extension and O'Neill Court extension. Wilson Boulevard at Killian Road, and an accident with injuries, Lake Avenue at Arbor Drive. From the 103.5 FM WVLC Traffic Center, I'm Gary Mills with Columbia's most dependable traffic.
This report is sponsored by JustPlainKillers.com. Heartfelt sympathy to those South Carolinians who have lost loved ones to an overdose. Communities are urged to be aware of preventive measures like Narcan. Narcan is a life-saving medication available over the counter at local pharmacies. Go to JustPlainKillers.com to find a pharmacy near you.
Lawton Swan here. And I know in sports, we're always talking about the big guy. Well, let me tell you, when you're buying a car, you don't need that. What you need to do is head down to Orangeburg to my good friends at Ferry Chevrolet Cadillac. 4 generations of family-owned business right there at Ferry Chevrolet. No dock fees, no tricks, straightforward pricing in a low-pressure environment you'll love. Check them out online, ferrychevrolet.com, or call them 803-536-1600. It's Ferry Chevrolet Cadillac, just a short 30-minute drive off of exit 145A in Orangeburg.
Nielsen says more than 30 million Americans are now tuning into Newsmax TV. It's one of the biggest media stories. Newsmax is available on all major cable systems. And if you cut the cord and don't get cable, you can still get Newsmax. Find it on your smart TVs like Samsung, LG, and more. Just go to your smart TV channel guide or download the free Newsmax app. Newsmax also streams free on Roku, Zumo, Pluto, Amazon Fire, or TiVo. And 7 million people have the Newsmax app on their smartphone. It takes seconds to download it to your phone, and there's no paywall or subscription. So watch Newsmax for breaking news anytime, anywhere. Forbes described Newsmax as a news powerhouse. Find out why tens of millions of Americans are watching Newsmax TV and going to Newsmax.com for breaking news. It's a source you can trust. Newsmax is real news for real people.
By popular demand, Great Southern Homes now lists their coming soon communities online. Whether you're looking for a new home in your hometown, moving to a new town, or just want your pick of choice lots, this is the place to start. Great Southern Homes invites you to put the wow in your new home with options and upgrades. Live green, live smart in your new green smart home. Show your style and personalize your new home with options and upgrades from Great Southern Homes. Find your dream home today, GreatSouthernHomes.com.
Jason Alexander for the Will Rogers Institute.
Everyone thinks they know about asthma, but did you know that over 15 million people in our country suffer from the disease? Or that it causes more hospital visits, lost work days, and school absences than any other chronic illness? That its symptoms, shortness of breath, tightness in your chest, and a persistent cough or wheezing can be signs of real danger.
For your free booklet, visit wrinstitute.org or call toll-free 877-957-7575 and find us on Facebook and Twitter.
We need you to help the Federation Center of the Blind continue its life-changing mission of opening more doors to blind South Carolinians. Please call us at 803-254-3777 or email nfbsc@sc.rr.com to see how you can volunteer or make a donation.
Looking for South Carolina's favorite country? You'll find it at 97.5 WCOS.
Brett Ciancia, Pick Six Preview, joined us just a few minutes ago. We'll get to your comments and more here on the show, and then we'll hear from Trenton Simpson on the program. SCU says, I'm in the upstate. I'd rather listen to you than Road Rage. Hey, iHeartRadio app, man. You can get us in the car. I appreciate it. Thank you. Linda's also hanging out with us today. Let's see. One Dim Powell's says UGA on the schedule 6 seasons between now and 2033. As a Tiger through the 80s, schedule this game yearly. It is a significant matchup, isn't it? I mean, it's a fun one. Golly, it's a fun game. I mean, like when I was a kid, you played South Carolina, you played Georgia. Like that was it. And I like the fact that you've been able to see Clemson play Texas A&M and been able to see Clemson go out and play Auburn and some of those games that Dabo Swinney mentioned. But this one always feels a little bit like home. Like on my dad's side of the family, there is this contingent of Gamecocks. My dad's brother went to South Carolina. That portion of that family and even a few others on that side are Gamecocks. And then the other portion are Tigers. And so it feels like family, but yet we don't get along in November. You know what I mean? So that's the way it is. Like Georgia fans feel a little like family. They're a lot like you. You probably got some in your family, but we're not getting along on September the 4th, 2021. And we'll probably talk trash to each other a lot more than we do with our family members. So there's that. And then Larry, he says, hello, Swanee, from a cool and dry White Bear Lake, Minnesota. Larry, appreciate you, man. Thank you. All right, Trent Simpson, you know this, man. Your boy Swanee's been all over Trent Simpson for months. I mean, his recruitment was an incredible story, accepting the offer on the spot. And then when you go and tune in and listen to what Trenton Simpson has to say, you just go, my goodness, what a kid, what a guy. And so Simpson is from right there in the Charlotte area getting to play this game, I mean, literally in his backyard, so to speak. So here's Trenton Simpson from earlier today up in Tigertown.
You're a Charlotte guy. I'm so excited being close to home and having all my family there and being able to support me. I want to go out there and put on the show and make my family proud and also my high school and represent Mallard Creek.
So Trenton Simpson asked about, just being right there. And he said he was going to get some extra tickets, got some extra tickets from his teammates because he's got a lot of people coming. I think he said he's got somewhere in the range of about 15 tickets for this ball game that he's going to be giving to friends and family. Then he was also asked about, taking on this Georgia Bulldog team and having to match up and guard in space, which he'll do. He's that nickel hybrid linebacker. I have made comparisons to Isaiah Simmons, and I think more so on the speed front like Simmons. And obviously we saw how good Dorian O'Daniel was at the spot. I think Trenton Simpson's got every bit of that in him. I think he can be every bit of that heading into just his second year in Tigertown. Here's what he said, though, about having to stick to those tight ends and wideouts for the Dogs.
They have some speed, but all fall camp I've been working on guarding man-to-man and working on my technique and just trying to be precise at all my footwork. And, I mean, that'll take care of everything.
And one of the things I really liked listening to Simpson today was the fact that he's a humble kid. And as great as he is, he knows he's still got to put in a lot of work and how you get better at that. Here's what he had to say.
Yes, sir. It's a lot of things I could have got better at. It's always room for improvement. But, yes, sir, coverage was one of the main things all spring ball and fall camp I made sure I focus on.
So how does a guy like that get better at coverage? Well, he said, look, I spent time working with the DBs, working with the safeties, trying to learn to do the things that they do. And that makes you feel good given what you've seen from that position and its role in Brent Venables' defense. Here's what Trenton Simpson, I'm telling you, one of my favorite players to watch on the field. Here's what he had to say about his development this offseason.
Doing individuals with the safeties and learning how they do the footwork, because they do a lot of man coverage. So I've been doing a lot of individual work with them, and then we do a lot of 7-on-7. So just trying to make sure whenever we're in man calls, just be precise on all my footwork, staying on top, using my leverage to help me.
Again, Trenton Simpson, who I think is going to be a breakout star for your Clemson Tigers, not just this year, but down the road. Now, as far as having to move into a bigger role and having a bigger responsibility this year, obviously Mike Jones Jr. leaves Clemson to go to LSU. And that pretty much, I wouldn't say that handed this spot to Trenton Simpson because there's still some competition there for him, but he's the lead dog now, in my opinion. Here's what he had to say about just getting ready for this year.
Preparation. I put in a lot of hard work, and I know when my time has come, I'll go out there and perform, and that's always been my mindset. Whenever 22 is called, I got to go out there and make a play. So I definitely feel like this year will be the year that I'll go out there and perform.
Whenever 22 is called, I got to go out there and make a play. And anytime you see double deuce out there, 22, be prepared because he is fast off the edge. He can cover in space. He's a powerful, long, rangy defender. This might be pushing it too far for some of you, but I think he has a chance to be better than Isaiah Simmons. I think he has a chance to be better than Isaiah Simmons. As Dabo Swinney said, print that, tweet that. Here's what he had to say about where else he's improved.
My confidence, and I've gained some weight. I've got faster, and now I'm in the film book a lot more, and I know the details. Last year I was just, going off a lot of instinct, but given a lot of spring and fall camp reps under my belt, I now have some confidence in every rep that I've taken, so I'm ready to go.
Trenton Simpson says he is ready to go for this matchup against the Georgia Bulldogs. 803-450-0086. Let us know, who are you most excited to see this year? Maybe on the defensive side of the ball if you just want to stay over there. I know Will Shipley's going to get a lot of love from those of you listening. You can text us. From those of you, never text while you're driving, by the way. For those of you watching the show, you can message us as well. But who is the guy that you're really most excited about seeing out there? And if you pin me down and put me on the defensive side of the ball, man, it is, without it, beyond a shadow of a doubt, it is Trenton Simpson. I think he's got a chance to have just a monster year, an emerging year, and could be by the end of the season a player that's making plays that are of great significance, game-changing type plays. It could very well make one in this matchup. Believe me. I mean, he's that good. I truly believe that about Trent Simpson. Love hearing from him. Stay with us on Clemson Sports Talk.
It's one of the most anticipated kickoffs in Carolina history. The Gamecocks are coming off a disappointing season with limited fans allowed inside Williams-Brice last fall. Now they're ready to open 2021 with a new coach and a packed house. Hey, it's Christopher Thompson inviting you to tailgate with us on 103.5 FM and 560 AM WVOC. The best Gamecock coverage starts at 4 Saturday afternoon from Bluff Road, taking you right up to kickoff with Eastern Illinois. The best Gamecock coverage game days on WVOC.
Come on down to Jay's Vape and Wellness Center. Open 24 hours with the best prices on disposable e-cigs like Biddy, $11. Cali Plus, $13. Jewel Pod 4-pack, $15. Views Alto 4-pack, $17. Big selection of glass water pipes, Roar, Mav, Illadelph, Puffco Peak. Flavored whipped cream chargers, 48 packs for $25. Huge selection of hookahs and shisha. Nitrous tanks, $60 even after tax. Open 24 hours.
I'm Mark Morial, President and CEO of the National Urban League. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of justice. Our friends at the Peace in the Streets Global Film Festival are introducing their Kids, Cops, and Kindness Equals Safer Streets initiative. And this promotes the United Nations 11th Sustainable Development Goal. I'm inviting everyone, 18 and under, to visit psgff.com to learn how to create a short video about how you envision creating peace in the streets and enter it into this year's Peace in the Streets Global Film Festival.
Now your chance to win $1,000 and a trip to our iHeartRadio Music Festival. Text the nationwide keyword FLIGHT to 200-200. You'll get a confirmation text and info. Standard data and message rates apply in the nationwide contest. That's FLIGHT to 200-200.
This is Chris Collinsworth. Here's what's trending on the iHeart Sports Network, presented by DraftKings.
Well, the Patriots shocked some people in the NFL by releasing Cam Newton and are going to give the rookie Mac Jones the job. In the end, Mac was more impressive throughout camp. Brady was the standard for the quarterback position in New England. Responsibility, reliability, professionalism. Cam was brought in last year to be a Patriots Band-Aid. Today, Belichick simply ripped it right off.
I'm Colin Cowherd. Download the DraftKings app and use code SPORTS to get a free shot at millions of dollars up for grabs this week with your first deposit.
Minimum $5 deposit required. Eligibility restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com for details.
The free iHeart app is ready for back to school. Bring your favorite station as your study partner. Share the songs you love with your closest friends and impress your teachers with your expert knowledge from podcasts like Stuff You Should Know. Plus, when you need a playlist to focus, just create your own for free. We make it super easy. Start with one song and we'll fill in the rest. Whether you love school or don't, we got you covered. Bring the free iHeart app everywhere. Number one for music, radio, and podcasts all in one.
iHeartRadio. No word in the English language is less convincing than probably.
Are you sure we should get matching tattoos on our first date?
Sure. We'll probably stay together.
Probably? It's been 23 minutes since I ate. I can probably swim.
You should wait 30 minutes.
Okay, now tell me what to do. Cannonball! Cramp! Oh, I have a cramp.
I can probably hit the green from here.
Probably.
Can I get a mulligan?
Ready to go?
Hey, are you sure you're okay to drive?
Yeah, I'm pretty sober. Yeah, I'm probably okay. Probably okay isn't okay, especially when it comes to drinking and driving. If you're drinking, call a cab, a car, or a friend. Buzzed driving is drunk driving. A message brought to you by NHTSA and Adam.
Fox Sports Radio 1400. Serving Columbia at 1400. And the world on the iHeartRadio app.
Happy Tuesday, Lawton Swan, Clemson Sports Talk. A college football Tuesday. Games start tomorrow. Well, one game tomorrow. And then, boy, the slate picks up in a hurry. Holy moly. Britt Ciancia was on with us earlier. We were talking about it. Again, tomorrow, 7:30, ESPN, UAB, Jacksonville State. Of course, a little tie there for Clemson fans. Quarterback at Jacksonville State, Zerick Cooper. So there you go. So the former Clemson Tiger quarterback going to be at Jacksonville State. Former Clemson running back will be playing for Wisconsin in their matchup this weekend. Former Clemson Tiger quarterback going to be the starter at Northwestern with Hunter Johnson. So, hey, look, man, you can watch Clemson or you can just watch some other games and see some former Tigers, guys that got out of Dodge, so to speak. And, I think some people might go, man, I hope that kid doesn't do well, but listen, I just cover it. And it's a unique story for me to see a guy like Ches Malusi become the starter for Wisconsin. So, again, it is a loaded weekend. It's one of those weeks where, we have a lot of games during the season, but, we tend to only focus on those top matchups. But the way they break this thing down, you got Coastal Carolina hosting the Citadel, 7 o'clock on ESPN+. That's a number 22 ranked Coastal Carolina team over in Conway at Brooks Stadium. I know a lot of people are fired up about the Chanticleers and the job that's being done over there. Matter of fact, we had a soccer tournament this weekend over in Myrtle Beach, and there was a little buzz. I saw some Coastal stuff rocking and rolling over in that part of the state for sure. And heck, man, if you're out on the highways and byways enough here in South Carolina, you probably see some Coastal stuff out there. As well, just in general, anywhere in the state of South Carolina. Also, again, that game on Fox between Ohio State and Minnesota, that's an 8 o'clock start on Thursday. I'll be keeping my eyeballs on that. Friday, I'll be watching that North Carolina at Virginia Tech game right as we go off the air, 6 o'clock. That's going to be on ESPN. And then really the rest of the slate on Friday night, not overly interesting unless you just want to see Hunter Johnson at Northwestern as they host Michigan State. But then Saturday, all bets are off, man. It gets rocking and rolling at noon and all day long. You got top 20 matchups. You got top 10 matchups. You got top 15 matchups. And then you got a top 5 matchup with the Tigers and the Bulldogs. You can't get enough of that. And if you still not done, you get number 9 Notre Dame hosting Florida State. A game that we don't talk about probably enough here, but a chance for the Seminoles under Coach Mike Norvell to have a positive start to their season. They host the Fighting Irish. Again, that game's on ABC at 7:30, and you just know how like sleep deprived is what we call people who haven't had enough sleep, right? I guess Florida State fans are just joy deprived at this point. I mean, Florida State fans are honestly in the spot that I think most college football fans fear being. Like, it is the place that as a fan, you never want to see your team be. And that is being a program that was the cream of the crop, and now you just struggle, and you look like you just learned how to play the game at times. And they've recruited. That's the other thing that's really changed for me on Florida State. Or for a few years when it wasn't going well, you could go, man, they've just recruited so well. I don't understand why it's not working out. And they've still recruited pretty well. But if you don't get old Mo going in the right way soon, it's going to get worse and worse. This is a big game for Florida State, Sunday night, 7:30 on ABC. And then Monday, the final game of week 1, Louisville versus Ole Miss at 8 o'clock from Mercedes-Benz Stadium over in Atlanta. Neither of those two teams ranked, but Lane Kiffin, that high-profile offense, Scott Satterfield, and Louisville, again, still trying to solidify themselves after the way things kind of fell apart and as the Bobby Petrino era went awry there after so much excitement around that program. In Satterfield, I think a little like Pat Narduzzi at Pitt, just kind of comes across as, I don't want to offend anybody that's an engineer out there, but just kind of like an engineer. Just doesn't. Now the engineers are like, but just not that exciting. I mean, just kind of, just not plain, but I just very businesslike in their approach. Very detail-oriented, almost scientific in a lot of respects, but culture. And that's what Louisville needs, a lot of culture. And I do feel like Scott Satterfield's the right guy for the job. And I would make the argument, and I have brought this up, that I would assume that there is a chance that if Scott Satterfield has success and just, doesn't get fired from Louisville or have any off the field stuff, like he has probably a chance to be the coach at North Carolina at some point. Like, I think his ties back to that state, and with any modicum of success at Louisville, I think North Carolina fans would look at him in a few years and say, okay, recruits the area, knows this league, young, up and coming, has ties back to our state. Let's pass the torch there. Now they could go completely in another direction. And I am certainly no Einsteiner, but that's sort of where I would lean in a little bit at this point. I really would. 803-450-0086. Text line, phone line. Ha, man, I don't get it. 2 hours. 2 hours in the books in a blink here on the Tuesday edition. We'll hit a quick break. We'll bounce back. We'll put a bow on it. The show that shakes the Southland returns right after this.
For 28 years, the professional staff of the Hobbs Group and Hobbs Group Advisors has been dedicated to helping others achieve their financial goals by delivering quality, objective financial and accounting solutions to a diverse client base of individuals and businesses all over South Carolina. We offer tax and audit services, bookkeeping, payroll, litigation support, employee benefits, personal financial planning, investment management, and insurance services. Please call us at 803-799-0555 or visit our website, hobbscpa.com, to learn more about our people and services.
Hey guys, Lawton Swan here. I was hanging out in the backyard with my son Mason a couple of years ago, and he said, "Dad, you're the best father ever." When I asked him why, he said, "Because when I go outside to play, I don't get eaten up by the bugs anymore." Imagine that, me, a hero, when all I did was call my good buddy Trey Powell at Mosquito Joe. With their routine service plan, no more bugs and no more bites. Make yourself the family hero. Call Mosquito Joe today, 803-223-7916. That's 803-223-7916. Outside is fun again.
Are you thinking about refinancing your home, but worried that closing costs could cancel out any money you'd save? Not with Cap Center's zero closing cost mortgages.
This is our 6th time using Cap Center. The quality of service was excellent, and the savings were substantial.
Cap your closing costs. Visit capcenter.com. Equal housing lender. Visit capcenter.com for rates, savings, and offer limitations. This ad contains real client feedback voiced by actors. NMLS ID 67717. NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Way back when, Columbia was a vast dining desert, a wasteland for fast, fresh, authentic Southwestern food. Weren't nothing bundled up nice and warm in a tortilla. Columbia needed Diablos. Southwestern the way you want it. The real deal, with no shortcuts in quality and served up as fast and fresh as you want it. Diablo Southwest Grill. Sunset Boulevard in Lexington. DiabloSouthwestGrill.com.
Scott here with Traditions Fine Jewelers with some exciting news. A second Traditions Fine Jewelers, Gamecock Tradition and Tiger Tradition, will be opening in the Northeast this September. As we're getting ready to open, we're looking for new people to add to our current staff. Are you a happy person that loves meeting people? At Traditions, we can certainly tell you about top dollar pay, the commissions, and the health benefits, which are all really good. Instead, it's the love of the job and excitement you'll feel coming to work every day that really sets us apart. Don't believe me? Ask our current staff. The average employment time at Traditions is over 14 years. That doesn't happen by accident. Fantastic retail hours, too. Monday through Saturday, 10 to 6, and closed Sunday, making it a family-friendly job, too. We are setting up interviews now at our Lexington location, and we'll be adding staff at both Lexington and Northeast, including management opportunities. Call us at 803-520-1969 or email me at scott@traditionsfinejewelers.com to set up an appointment, or just stop by the store and let's see if we can work together. Traditions Fine Jewelers is located at 5134 Sunset Boulevard. Traditions Fine Jewelers, where the Midlands get engaged.
There are many sounds in your day-to-day life. There are sounds that wake you up. Sounds that make you smile. Sounds that energize you. And sounds that help you relax. But there are some sounds that can alert you to danger and can help save lives. Wireless emergency alerts, now on many mobile devices, use a unique sound and vibration to bring you information about severe weather events, Amber Alerts, or other emergencies in your area. With critical information from local sources you know and trust, you can be in the know, wherever you are. For more information, visit ready.gov/alerts. Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Live music is back at our 2021 iHeartRadio Music Festival. Listen every weekday to win your way to this ultimate once-in-a-lifetime experience and win $1,000.
What have you done for me lately? It's a fair question. Just don't lose sight of the bigger picture. Don't forget history. Lucky for us at Clemson, the answer to the questions, what have you done for me lately, and what have you done always, are the same. We win.
In fairness to our listeners and anybody watching the show, I have to update this graphic because I still have the phone line as the old studio line when we were over at iHeart, but we are now here at home. We still are on iHeart. Don't get me wrong. I mean, we still do the JOB for iHeart, but we do it from home. And I've been saying I want to get the phone lines working and rocking and rolling. But let me tell you something. I say that, but the truth is you can call anytime, 803-450-0086. And I encourage you to call anytime. Matter of fact, we got a couple of callers today. And we will play these on the air. We'll happily play. Mark Packer used to do the whiner line where people would call in and complain or say whatever they wanted. But you don't have to make it a whiner line. Just call in, leave us a message, let us know your take on the game. Without further ado, 00.
Okay, I see the phone lines are not open for live conversation, but I'll leave a message. Man, let's see you Tiger fans get fired up. I want to see some orange all over Columbia, South Carolina, everywhere, all in South Carolina. Put your orange on and get fired up for this game. Let's go, Tigers! Beat them dogs. Later.
See, it works perfectly. And then this caller, who I don't know wants to remain nameless or not, may just say we got 00. This may be Big D checking out the program. Here's what he has to say.
Yeah, I got to say I'm totally tired of hearing everyone talk about how one game at the beginning of the season could ruin somebody's chances of going to the playoffs. I mean, to even engage in that sort of discussion, you've got to be willing to destroy someone's joy and love and excitement for an entire season. For what reason? Just because you want to say you were right at the end of the year? I mean, these pundits that come out with this talk, yeah, sure, it's possible that if Clemson loses, they could be done and never be able to make it back in because they can't help who they play or what their schedule is, and they play a bunch of chumps. But you know what? I would rather go an entire season of enjoying watching my team with the chance of going to the playoffs than just write them off after one game and just ask myself, why am I even watching these games if it doesn't matter? So, yeah, it's certainly possible. Is it worth discussing? Absolutely not. And we're going to beat Georgia anyway later.
I appreciate the call, man. That was great getting a couple of calls. And I got to apologize to Big D because he had called yesterday, and I did not get his message in. So we'll try to continue to do that. And if you want to call the show, you can. There's the number 450-0086. That is a text line as well. You can leave us a message and we'll get you on there. Always love hearing from our listeners. And even though we don't have the quote phone lines the way we used to in studio, that's still perfect, man. Like that is still perfect. The only issue with that is we can't go back and forth. But you know what? We didn't go back and forth much anyway. Most of the time I let you have your take and then I move you on through. It drove 00 crazy. But that's the way you do it in the radio business. If I needed a co-host, I'd go get a co-host. Anyway, appreciate both phone calls there. One from 00, one from Big D. And I kind of engaged in that banter, but I engaged in it about Clemson and Georgia just from the standpoint of, I do feel like, and again, I don't think Clemson's chances of getting in the playoffs are over if they were to lose, but I think that late season argument about Georgia and Clemson would exist. Especially if the Dogs go undefeated and lose in the SEC championship. This is the one reason why I think that the NFL and pro football is more interesting for more people longer, and why the whole dilution of the regular season is something I just don't buy into, is because more teams, like Big D saying there a minute ago, he said, look, why you knock somebody down that they can't get to the playoffs after week one? And there are a lot of teams that are going to lose week one, and there are teams that already lost that know they can't make the playoffs, like Nebraska Anybody think Nebraska is going to make the playoffs at this point? No. Could they win out? Maybe. But in the NFL, there's more leeway. I mean, you can lose 7 games and get into the playoffs. There have been years where maybe teams have lost 8 and gotten into the playoffs. Now, look, I don't think we ever want our college playoff to have an 8-loss team, right? And the way it's set up now, it certainly wouldn't with the number of games that these teams play and having to be in a conference championship. But I have always supported the fact that I believe a larger playoff keeps more people nationally interested longer. It just keeps more people invested longer. I don't think that changes, honestly. I think this 4 teams have been healthy for the sport. I think it is not healthy that the same 4 teams have sort of been dominant, the majority of it, especially Clemson and Alabama. I don't think that's great for the sport, what these 2 teams have done specifically. Ohio State may be on the fringe of that as well. But, it's the way the system's set up right now. So we just rock and roll with it. We'll be rolling with you tomorrow, 22 hours. Buckle your safety belt. Tell your friends and neighbors, hit that subscribe button. We want to hit 500 before the end of the week. Let's do it. Hit the subscribe right now. Go over there, do it. All right, we got to get out of here. 2 great videos beside us. Until tomorrow, as always, y'all take care now. And, of course, go Tigers.
Off with Lawton Swan on Columbia's home for sports. Fox Sports Radio 1400. Now, Columbia's most dependable traffic, sponsored by Pope Davis Tire and Automotive, home of the best tire prices in Columbia, guaranteed. Fox Sports Radio 1400 traffic.
Still working on the accident, Long Green Parkway at Clemson Road, also Newlands to Notch Road at Fire Lane Road, Dutch Fork Road at A.J. Amick, and an accident with injuries, southbound road at George Derrick Road. From the 103.5 FM WVOC Traffic Center, I'm Gary Mills with Columbia's most dependable traffic.
This report is sponsored by JustPlainKillers.com. Heartfelt sympathy to those South Carolinians who have lost loved ones to an overdose.